What if I told you the greatest prison in the world is built inside your own mind? You wake up every day, trapped not by walls or bars, but by the invisible chains wanting everyone's approval, fearing their judgment, and living according to their expectations. The Courage to be Disliked is not just a book. It's a wake-up call. It challenges everything you've been taught about happiness, success, and relationships. And today, you'll discover how to break free from that mental cage, one lock at a time. So, grab your seat, clear your mind, and let's step into a life where you finally have the courage to live for yourself. This is Shiny Books, and your transformation starts now. You probably don't even notice it anymore, that constant, low hum of worry in the back of your mind. The part of you that's always asking, what will they think? You choose your clothes, your words, even your career path, not always because it's what you truly want, but because you're calculating how others will see you. This is Invisible Prison, the book The Courage to be Disliked talks about. The prison built by your own craving for approval. And here's the painful truth. The more you chase validation, the more you hand over control of your life to people who might not even care about you. It starts young. Think about your earliest memories in school. Maybe you raised your hand in class, got the wrong answer, and someone laughed. Or maybe you brought home a grade that wasn't good enough, and your parents' faces fell. Those moments planted seeds that whispered, I must avoid mistakes. I must make them happy. Before you know it, you're living life not as an explorer of your own desires, but as a performer on someone else's stage. The book explains that this prison is maintained by what Alfred Adler, the psychologist behind these ideas, called life lies. A life lie is a false belief that you can only be happy if you win everyone's approval. The problem? Approval is a moving target. People's opinions shift like the wind. What pleases them today might disappoint them tomorrow. And while you're busy adjusting yourself to their expectations, your own dreams are quietly suffocating. Now, here's the twist you might not expect. The people whose approval you're chasing, they're often too busy chasing someone else's approval to notice yours. It's a cycle. Everyone watching each other, nobody truly free. Adler's point is brutal but freeing. The need to be liked is a self-imposed chain. It's not the world rejecting you. It's you rejecting yourself whenever you think you're not enough unless others confirm it. Let's get uncomfortable for a moment. Imagine you wake up tomorrow and everyone you know, friends, family, co-workers, suddenly disapproves of you. No explanation, just disapproval. How would you live your life? Would you still go to the same job? Still wear the same clothes? Still post on social media? If the answer is no, then you've already identified how much of your identity is built on keeping others happy. The book doesn't suggest you should become a cold, selfish person who ignores everyone's feelings. That's a misunderstanding. The goal isn't to stop caring about people. It's to stop living for their approval. There's a huge difference between kindness and compliance. Kindness is a choice you make because it aligns with your values. Compliance is a choice you make because you're afraid of rejection. One is freedom. The other is a cage. You might be wondering, okay, but how do I actually stop caring so much? This is where Adler introduces a concept of separating tasks, which we'll explore in the next section. But before we get there, I want you to sit with a question. What would your life look like if you stopped performing for an audience? Not just in the big moments, but in the everyday, the way you speak, the way you spend your free time, the way you define success. Most people never escape this invisible prison because they don't see the walls. The courage to be disliked starts with noticing the bars around you, the moment you make a choice based on fear instead of truth. And here's something powerful. Every time you choose your own path, even in small things, you chip away at those bars. So the first step is awareness. Notice when you're saying yes just to avoid conflict. Notice when you're holding back an opinion because you're worried it might upset someone. Notice when you're putting off a dream because people might think it's silly. Each of those is a brick in the prison wall. You built it, which means you can dismantle it. Remember this. You are not here to live someone else's version of a good life. You're here to live yours. And once you see the invisible prison, you can't unsee it. The only question left is, will you walk out? If the invisible prison is built from your need for approval, then the first tool to break those bars is what Adler calls separating tasks. At first glance, it sounds simple, but once you understand it, it changes everything about how you deal with people. The idea is this: every action in life belongs to someone's task, meaning it's their responsibility, their choice, their consequence. Your task is yours. Theirs is theirs. And here's the golden rule: don't do other people's tasks, and don't let them do yours. Think about it. When you're worrying about what someone will think of you, whose task is that? It's their task. Their opinion is built on their values, experiences, and mood, all things you can't control. Yet, you've been acting like it's your job to manage their feelings. That's like trying to control the weather. No matter how hard you try, you can't stop it from raining. You can only choose whether to carry an umbrella. Let's make it practical. Say you tell your friend you can't attend their party because you're exhausted and need rest. Your task is to communicate honestly and respectfully. Their task is how they react. If they get upset, that's their task. You can't control whether they choose to understand or take offense. And if you try to, you're crossing into their territory. Why does this matter so much? Because so much of your stress comes from taking on tasks that aren't yours. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. You avoid decisions that feel right for you because you're scared of someone else's reaction. You exhaust yourself managing other people's expectations instead of living your own life. Separating tasks cuts through this like a knife. Of course, this doesn't mean you stop caring about people's feelings or act like a jerk. It means you focus on your role and respect theirs. If you're a teacher, your task is to teach to the best of your ability. Whether the student chooses to study is their task. If you're a parent, your task is to provide guidance and love. Whether your child follows that guidance is their task. If you're in a relationship, your task is to be honest and loving. Whether your partner chooses to trust you is their task. Once you see life this way, something magical happens. You start to feel lighter. The weight of trying to please everyone lifts off your shoulders. You stop twisting yourself into knots to make people happy, because you realize that's never been your task to begin with. The book gives a powerful example. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. Your climb is your task. Someone else might be standing at the bottom, yelling at you to climb faster or slower, or even telling you you're on the wrong mountain. You could spend your energy arguing with them or try and convince them to approve of your path. But while you're doing that, you're not climbing. You're stuck. When you separate tasks, you keep climbing your own mountain, regardless of the noise. Here's the resistance you might feel. But if I don't try to manage people's reactions, won't they think I don't care? This is where courage comes in. The truth is, some people will think you don't care, and you can't control that. If you act out of fear of that judgment, you're back in the prison. But if you act out of your own values, you're free, even if others misunderstand you. There's another layer to separating tasks that's equally liberating. It works in reverse. 2. Just as you shouldn't take on other people's tasks, you shouldn't let them take on yours. How many times have you let someone else's expectations dictate your choices? Maybe your parents chose your career path. Maybe your friends influenced your lifestyle. Maybe society told you what success should look like. These are your tasks, your choices, your consequences. When you give them away, you give away your life. Of course, this shift won't happen overnight. At first, you'll slip back into old habits, apologizing unnecessarily or over-explaining yourself to win approval. That's okay. The key is to catch yourself and remind yourself, whose task is this? This single question can snap you out of the trap in seconds. And here's something to consider. The more you separate tasks, the more respectful your relationships become. Why? Because people feel the difference between manipulation and genuine connection. When you're not trying to control them, they feel safe. When you're not allowing them to control you, you feel safe. And that safety is the soil where trust grows. This is why Adler insists that separating tasks is not selfishness. It's a foundation of mutual respect. You take responsibility for your life, and you let others take responsibility for theirs. It's not about walls, it's about boundaries. If Section 1 showed you the invisible prison, Section 2 gives you the first real tool to break out. And here's the beauty of it. You can use it starting today. The next time you're tempted to overthink how someone will react, stop. Ask yourself, is this my task? If the answer is no, drop it. That's not coldness, that's clarity. And once you have clarity, you're ready for something even bigger, shifting your focus from yourself to something far more fulfilling. Contribution. You've started to see the bars of the invisible prison. You've picked up the tool of separating tasks. Now, the book takes you somewhere unexpected. It shifts the spotlight away from your own worries and onto something that can dissolve them almost instantly. Contribution. Here's the irony. Most of your stress and insecurity comes from being overly focused on yourself. How do I look? What do they think of me? Am I good enough? It's like a mental mirror you keep staring into, examining every flaw. But the more you stare, the more distorted your reflection becomes. Adler's philosophy flips that mirror around. Stop asking, how can I be liked? And start asking, how can I contribute? Contribution doesn't mean grand gestures or self-sacrifice to the point of exhaustion. It's about living with the mindset that your life has value because it makes life better, even in small ways. For others, when you focus on what you can give instead of what you can get, you step out of the exhausting game of seeking approval. You start living in a way that's naturally fulfilling, regardless of whether people clap for you. Think about the people you admire most. Are they the ones constantly trying to be liked, or the ones focused on something bigger than themselves? It's usually the latter. When you're contributing, your worth isn't dependent on the mood of the crowd. It's anchored in the impact you create. The book uses a concept of community feeling to explain this. Community feeling doesn't just mean your neighborhood or friend group. It's the sense that you're part of humanity, that you have a role to play in the vast network of life. And when you see yourself as a contributor, you stop competing with others and start cooperating. Let's bring this into your everyday life. Imagine you're at work. Instead of thinking, I hope my boss notices how good I am, you shift to, how can I make my team's job easier today? Or in your personal life, instead of, I hope they invite me to the party, you think, who could use a kind word or a helping hand right now? These aren't acts of manipulation. You're not giving to get something back. You're simply shifting your reason for acting. Why is this so powerful? Because the moment your goal becomes contribution, the fear of being disliked loses its grip. If you help someone and they don't appreciate it, that's their task. You still did what aligned with your values. You can walk away without resentment because your sense of worth didn't hinge on their reaction. There's another bonus. Contribution naturally builds genuine connections. When you contribute without strings attached, people sense it. They trust you more. And even though your goal isn't to be liked, you often end up being liked anyway. But this time, it's for who you truly are, not the mask you've been wearing. The book challenges a dangerous cultural habit here. The idea that happiness comes from achieving personal goals or acquiring more for yourself. Adler flips this completely. True happiness, he says, comes from feeling useful. You can have all the money, fame, and comfort in the world, but if you feel disconnected from others and irrelevant to their lives, a deep emptiness creeps in. This is why so many people hit their dream goals and still feel hollow. They've been climbing a ladder, leaning against the wrong wall. Contribution puts the ladder back where it belongs, against the wall of connection, meaning, and purpose. Now, this doesn't mean you have to spend every waking hour serving others. In fact, overextending yourself can become another trap, especially if it turns into a subtle way of chasing approval again. The difference lies in intention. Contribution says, I act because it matters to me. People-pleasing says, I act so they'll approve of me. Same actions on the outside, completely different freedom on the inside. And here's something practical to try today. Pick one person in your life. Ask yourself, what small action can make their day a little better? Do it without telling anyone, without expecting thanks, and without tying your mood to their reaction. It might be sending a short, encouraging message, help with a small task, or just listening without interrupting. The point isn't the size of the action. It's breaking the habit of living in the mirror and starting to live in the window, where you see the world beyond yourself. If separating tasks frees you from carrying the weight of other people's reactions, contribution fills that space with something far richer. You stop living in defense mode. Try not to upset people, and start living in creation mode, actively adding value to the world around you. And once you're focused on contribution, you're ready for the next shift, letting go of the baggage of yesterday and the anxiety of tomorrow, so you can fully show up for today. You've loosened the grip of approval, learned to separate tasks, and started shifting your focus toward contribution. But there's another enemy lurking in the shadows, one that can quietly sabotage everything you've built so far. It's your relationship with time. Specifically, the way you let the past weigh you down and the future pull you away from the present moment. Adler's philosophy in The Courage to be Disliked is crystal clear. The only time you can actually live is now. That sounds obvious, but most of us don't live like it. We're haunted by regrets, replaying scenes from the past as if thinking about them enough will somehow rewrite them. Or we're anxiously scripting the future, convinced that if we plan and prepare enough, we'll finally feel safe. But the truth is, the past is gone and the future is a dream. Both are places your mind can visit, but neither is a place you can live. Let's start with the past. How many decisions do you avoid today because of something that happened years ago? Maybe you once failed at a business, so now you avoid taking risks. Maybe you were betrayed in a relationship, so now you keep people at arm's length. Adler would say that these aren't scars. They're chains you keep fastening tighter around yourself. The event is over. What keeps it alive is the meaning you attach to it. The book emphasizes something radical. Your life isn't determined by what happened to you, but by the story you tell yourself about it right now. Two people can go through the same hardship and emerge with completely different futures. One uses it as fuel, the other as a lifelong excuse. The difference isn't in the past. It's in the choice made in the present. Then there's the future. Planning is smart, of course, but when planning turns into overthinking, it becomes another form of control, an attempt to make life predictable so you never have to feel uncertain. But here's the paradox. The more you try to control the future, the less you enjoy the present. And the more life passes you by while you're busy imagining it. Adler's advice? Live as if you were dancing. When you dance, you're not thinking about the final step. You're immersed in each movement. You adjust as the music changes. You don't demand to know exactly what the next beat will be before you move. You just move. This isn't about being reckless. It's about being fully engaged with the only thing you ever truly have, this moment. When you focus on contribution in the present, you naturally create a better future without obsessing over it. Here's where everything we've covered so far ties together. If you're still stuck in the invisible prison of needing approval, the past and future are perfect tools for keeping you locked in. You replay old moments when you were rejected, using them as warnings to play it safe. You imagine future scenarios where people might dislike you, and you change your actions now to avoid them. But once you've separated tasks and shifted to contribution, those old fears start to lose their grip, because your worth no longer depends on what others thought yesterday or might think tomorrow. Of course, living in the present takes practice. Your mind will keep trying to drag you back or push you forward. When it does, notice it without judgment, then gently bring your attention back to what's in front of you. Sometimes that's as simple as taking a slow breath and noticing where you are, who you're with, and what you're doing right now. One of the most freeing ideas in the book is that your past does not dictate your future. You can choose differently in this moment. And by doing so, you start to rewrite the story of your life. The courage to be disliked isn't just about facing people's opinions. It's also about facing your own. It's about refusing to be the villain or the victim in your own mind any longer. Think of it this way. The past is a library you can visit for lessons, not a prison you have to live in. The future is a blank page you will eventually write on, but right now, the pen is in your hand, and the only sentence you can write is the one you're writing this very second. When you start living in the present, something unexpected happens. Joy stops feeling like a rare visitor and starts becoming a permanent resident. Not because life is perfect, but because you're finally experiencing it as it unfolds, not as you wish it had been or fear it might be. And that brings us to the final, most challenging step, embracing the courage to be disliked fully and unapologetically. Because once you master this, you're no longer just free, you're unstoppable. Everything you've learned so far, seeing the invisible prison, separating tasks, focusing on contribution, and living in the present leads here. The final step, the heartbeat of the courage to be disliked, is this: the willingness to live your truth even when it means others may not like you. This is where many people hesitate. It's one thing to understand the ideas, and another to stand in the storm of disapproval without retreating. From childhood, you've been taught that being liked is a kind of survival. If people accept you, you're safe. If they don't, you're in danger. But Adler's point is life-changing. Being disliked is not a threat to your survival. It's proof that you're living authentically. Let's be real. No matter what you do, someone will disagree, disapprove, or misunderstand you. If you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one, least of all yourself. The courage to be disliked is about accepting this truth without resentment. It's saying, I'd rather be disliked for who I am than liked for who I'm not. Here's the hard truth. You cannot walk your own path without stepping off someone else's. And when you do, they might not like it. Friends may think you've changed. Family may say you're ungrateful. Colleagues may see you as difficult. That's the cost of freedom. But it's also its greatest reward. The book makes it clear. Being disliked isn't something to aim for, but neither is it something to fear. It's simply a natural side effect of living according to your values. If your actions come from integrity and contribution, disapproval doesn't define you. It defines the other person's perspective. Remember Section 2, that's their task. Here's a way to think about it. Imagine your life is a novel. For years, you let other people's preferences hold the pen. They've chosen your plot twists, your dialogue, even your ending. The courage to be disliked is about taking the pen back. It's about writing a story that's yours, knowing full well that some readers will stop reading, and being okay with that. Of course, this courage doesn't happen overnight. You'll feel the pull to explain yourself, to justify your choices, to soften your truth so it lands gently. But the more you practice, the stronger you get. One day, you realize you can listen to criticism without rushing to change yourself, and you can hear praise without becoming addicted to it. That's when you know you're free. The beauty of this courage is that it doesn't make you isolated or arrogant. In fact, it deepens your connections, because when you no longer need someone's approval, you can love them without fear. Your relationships become more honest, because you're not performing for each other. And when people do accept you, it's real, not a reward for your compliance. Living this way creates a different kind of happiness. Not the fragile happiness that depends on everything going your way, but a steady, unshakable contentment that comes from alignment. You don't need everyone to like you because you like yourself. This is the transformation the courage to be disliked offers. From approval seeking to self-respect. From controlling others to respecting boundaries. From self-absorption to contribution. From living in the past or future to embracing the present. From fear of rejection to the freedom of authenticity. And here's the ultimate irony. When you have the courage to be disliked, you often end up being respected, even admired, by the very people who once doubted you. Because deep down, everyone craves that same freedom. You become a living example that it's possible. So, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you keep twisting yourself to fit into molds that were never meant for you? Or will you step into the life that's been waiting for you all along? The choice and the courage is yours. If this journey to the courage to be disliked has sparked something in you, don't let it fade. Start today. Choose one small action that reflects your true self, even if it risks someone's disapproval. Say no when you mean no. Speak your opinion without rehearsing it to sound safe. Offer help because it matters to you, not because it will win points. And remember, courage is built one choice at a time. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Just take the next honest step, then the one after that. Over time, you'll look back and realize you've walked right out of the invisible prison. Here on Shiny Books, we explore ideas that don't just fill your mind, but free it. If this message resonated with you, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you never miss the next book that could change your life. Drop a comment telling me the one belief you're ready to challenge starting today. Because the truth is, the courage to be disliked is really the courage to be you.